Welcome to the Jennifer J. Hammond Podcast. Jennifer is a licensed realtor, educator, speaker, and best-selling author. Jennifer's goal is to help you find your yay in every day. Jennifer is grateful for the opportunity to educate, empower, and inspire you with powerful conversations, insights, and new viewpoints. Here's your host, Jennifer J. Hammond.
Because as you know, I love talking to amazing women who are helping inspire you, empower you, and really educate you on how can we make better decisions in life? How can we get away from things that might not be serving us anymore? So my guest, Lindy Lewis, is a recovering alpha female who, through sharing her humbling blocks and pivotal collection of tips and tools to live an empowered and full color life. So Lindy, welcome. Yay!
Hello. Hi. Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for having me. This is great. I appreciate it.
I'm so excited to have you. And I love the full color life because, as you can see, I love my colors.
I do too.
You love yours.
I love my colors. Oh, yeah. Well, I think it's fun that you were talking about things that no longer serve us. It's not just things. For me, so much of what I learned when I was in I call it alpha drive, when I was like full tilt, checking all the boxes, getting everything done from A to Z, and, bringing home the bacon too. There were a lot of beliefs in there as an alpha female that I had to let go of. And that's what I write about in the series, is just these beliefs of sort of letting go of the struggle and coming from this sort of, I call it the walk of grace, stepping into just allowing things to happen. But you do that by starting this journey of unconditional, I call it radical self-acceptance, because like you love it all. You turn your quirks into your colors.
Yes. And I think that's also the wonderful thing about the colors is I remember when I first got to Washington, D.C., I grew up in a little island called Key West, Florida, and I was always in my bright colored clothes just because that's what I grew up and being in these wild pinks and purples and blues. And I remember the first suits I got, my grandmother had bought for me. I couldn't even afford suits. And so she bought me pink and blue and the colors that I liked. And I had several women give me that shaking finger, kind of like a kindergarten teacher's finger, as they disapprovingly said, "You seem to be very brave with the colors you wear." Bold, and I remember, absolutely. I didn't think I was being brave. It
just made you happy. You just wear what makes you happy,
Yeah, I picked the colors I liked. And I remember thinking, I didn't know this was the color I shouldn't be wearing. And then I realized my whole wardrobe slowly changed to black and grays and navy blues. Professional for years.
Yep.
And I think that is, again, like you just said, is also a mindset, because I wanted to be professional and I wanted to be successful. So my mindset was that I had to not wear colors. I couldn't be the happy, bright colored,
lighthearted, there's a lightness with the color because you're dressing in what kind of brings you joy.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's not that I don't love a black suit, but I want to splash of color on it, like a scarf or something. So I think it's really important that we start with our mindset, just like what you said. I think it's so important we start with our mindset. But one thing that I think that is important that I know you like to talk about is the doing this disease, because we also need to stop dreaming and do, but we also can go a little too much with the doing this disease, right? Tell us about your viewpoint.
I think, that's a great aspect. I mean, that's what happened to me. Again, type A, we are the ones who do get things done on the planet. She's the one who showed up, wrote the book. She got up early and said, let's do this interview. So I love her, but she was ruling my world. Like she was the one saying, no, you need to fit in, buy that black suit. You bring that professional look to you. And what was happening, I was like, my little heart was there were little aspects that were just getting smushed. And the other aspect truly is you cannot stay healthy in that you cannot make healthy choices for yourself. You disconnect with your children because you're always ticking the boxes. Your bar of perfection is here and you meet it, but magically your bar goes up just a bit more. And then the bar, it's like a self-defeating prophecy, essentially. Like you never actually hit your bar of perfection because you're constantly raising it as an overachiever. And that's the type A personality. Wonderful. But my whole mission is to encourage these wonderful, powerful type A women that are leading companies, inspiring, teaching our children, influencing, whatever they are. I want them to make sure that they prioritize their health and put themselves at the top of their priority list. It's so counterintuitive, but if we could do that, health lives there, better relationships live there, and you're able truly to celebrate the moment and your immune system supported there. I mean, I think that's why I've been able to navigate this whole crazed pandemic, because it's like, you know what? I live in the now. I truly believe that every day is a gift. I get up. That's my yay. It's
Yay!
Just getting up. And, I love that that's your thing. And sometimes you just got to trust that and live in that aspect of your life and not beat yourself up for not being perfect or not having it all together. And for goodness sakes, don't beat yourself up because you don't know what's happening next, right, or what you're doing next.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's so, so important that you live in the now, because so often we're like, oh, no, we're talking about the future. We're talking about the past. And again, most often we're most tripped up when we're focused on something that happened in the past, either a loss that we've had or something we didn't think was good enough, or we start to invalidate ourselves. And it's so easy to do. And then we're not realizing, hey, it's a new moment. It's another new moment. It's another new moment. Yes. And instead,
Jennifer, yes.
It's so, so important that we do that. And I think also, I
just want to segue real quick. I mean, the problem with that, again, I live with multiple sclerosis in the body, and I've had it for 15 years. Wow. And that constantly nitpicking and looking in that worry, that's a rumination that happens in your system. That does not support the immune system to fight any kind of illness. Nope. That doesn't allow your body. I mean, it is a constant state of stress. And as a type A, which I am very self-proclaimed, I have researched it for years. Again, love her, but if you don't temper her, your body never gets that opportunity to do a reset or restore or make decisions from heart, not head.
Yeah. And I think every disease is part of, even if you look at the word dis-ease, somehow we're no longer at ease. We're no longer in that moment or in the flow. And I love the idea of, if you think about life as a flow and all these flows, these energetic flows that are around us, whether it's money that's flowing around us, whether it's friendship or love that is flowing in, that's flowing out. What are you doing? The flows of gratitude. How are those flows working so that you're not stopping the flow and you're not focused again on something in the past? It doesn't matter. Now is the time to celebrate the moment that you're in right now. And
I mean, we all make mistakes. Allow yourself some grace. It's so okay. And then again, that rumination and that berating. And as a type A, that's a typical self-conversation, is that sort of, being frustrated with yourself. And I see it in our younger generation. I mean, that's where I spend most of my energy, has been working and teaching young people these tips and tools to just be okay where they are, meet themselves where they're at. They drop, I call it, and one of the ahas I work with is cancel the comparative narrative. I mean, that does not serve you. Like, you've got to be you. You've got to show up in your color, your brand, your yay. And I'm showing up in this full color living. And, it's beautiful when we can sister each other up in that mission.
And I also think it's really important that we celebrate each other, especially women helping women, because that also, as you know, from being a type A personality, so often it was the competition and there was jealousy.
Very nice.
and there was negativity. And then now I had a friend of mine in real estate who just had a huge real estate deal go across the finish line. And it's a big deal. I don't care. And I was like, wow, congratulations. That's exciting.
Yes.
Let's all celebrate that. And, and then I heard some other people talking, And they were not celebrating. They were jealous. They want to know, where did that come from? Why did they get it? Why wasn't it that person? And it was just negative. And I was like, oh no, stop that. Don't do that.
Don't take her win. But also what happens is there's so much more power. Like, there's enough for all of us when you start dancing in your actual creation energy, when you're like, okay, this is what I'm here to do. You're here to do this wonderful podcast. I'm here to inspire and empower women in their alpha nature to lead from heart, not head. There is plenty for everyone, but this, if we can, it's again counterintuitive, this whole thing we're bringing forward, but this circling back to the doing disease, but even the aspect of being, when you can drop into that being and just allowing, then you can support your colleague. You don't have to come from that comparative narrative. You can really just honor her efforts and celebrate her hard work, or I'm celebrating you with this brilliant podcast that you've been able to expand and enjoy and bring yourself, you're influencing into the world. So I think that's really important.
And I agree with you. I think that one of the other things I know you talk about is being fluid instead of being rigid. And I think that's like I was talking about with the flows. And it's so important to be fluid, because sometimes you think it's going to be one thing and it's not. So I want to share with you one little story that for me, it's also the part of the unexpected, and especially because of the pandemic, it seems to happen all the time. But one thing I used to call it the iced tea versus the Coca-Cola expectation. And what it is when I don't really actually drink Coca-Cola anymore, just because it's not my drink. But when you think about it, when I would go to take a sip of Coca-Cola, it's very bubbly. It's very sweet. And most of the iced teas, unless you're in the deep South, they're not sweetened. They're just it's a tea, but it doesn't necessarily have a sweetener in it. So now you go and you take a sip of what you think your expectation is going to be Coca-Cola. So you're expecting that super sweet syrup and those bubbles, and they don't happen. And you think, oh my God, this is the most disgusting. It's flat Coke and it doesn't even have the sugar. It's a huge disappointment because you had an expectation that it was going to taste a certain way, but it's just because you got served iced tea. And iced tea, oh my gosh, iced tea is delicious too. But the same thing, if you thought you were going to, vice versa, if you thought you were getting one and you're getting the other, the expectation is also what ends up preventing you from being fluid. And instead of that rigid idea, and you're like, oh, I could drink iced tea today, or, oh, I could drink Coke because that's what was brought to me.
I love that simple, but that so resonates with so many, that metaphor, because I talk about fluidity, not rigidity. And in that that we go into, I talk about expectations or resentment in the making. Like when you've got an expectation out there, you've already, if it's not going to happen the way you expect, there's resentment in it. And resentment is such a difficult emotion for your system.
I agree.
Yeah, it's really impactful. And again, my whole mission is health and coming from this place of love and grace, because we all have it. And if we can avoid those expectations, or at least, my books, these ahas that I write about and talk about, they are a practice. Like this unwinding of the alpha brain, it takes time. I've been working at this 7 or 8 years, but I have lived, very well with a sleeping giant in my system. I mean, MS is not necessarily an easy disease to get, but no autoimmune is. And there's so much power we have if we can, for me, I started with a lot of the thought process. What
you just said, though, is so powerful. I just have to share one more idea that I had. Ironically, of course, I got it from my mother, and it was an expectation about Valentine's Day. And what should a man that I'm dating give me on Valentine's Day? What is my expectation for Valentine's Day? And I think that, so much of the media and mainstream has given us expectations for certain things, whether it's your birthday, whether it's Valentine's Day. And I can tell you, I just had this amazing realization one year when I had this, because I remember I would get kind of rigid and already I know who.
Almost disappointed, right?
I'm going to be disappointed that he didn't know he was supposed to blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And it was so funny. I had this one year, I had this boyfriend. He was amazing. And he said, Jennifer, I just suck at all this stuff. And I said, what do you mean? And he said, Valentine's Day is coming up and I absolutely love you. I love you, but I know I'm going to mess it up. I'm going to mess it up. And he said some other choice words. And I was like, it totally made me go, huh? And he goes, so would you just tell me if I did what would that make you, how would that make you feel? What would make you feel the way you want to feel on Valentine's Day? And weirdly enough, I rattled off 5 things. And I said, if you just do one of these 5, I'll be happy. Oh no, he did all 5. Wow. And I was so blown out of the water because I really was going to be fine if there was just one. And one, he asked me.
Yeah, I was just going to say that is a brilliant boyfriend right there. To just say, hey, look, tell me what would make your heart sing. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
What a cool thing. You know?
Yeah, and then you could just sit back and receive it. You could just allow yourself to just say like, wow, yes, we maybe had to give him an idea. And if you really want to go down that path, we could get a little bit resentful even in there. But at least, there was a really healthy communication that happened because you both could show up honestly.
And I did have to be honest about it. But again, it was funny because at the time I was flippant enough that I rattled the 5 things off super fast. And again, I just said one of the 5. And I was just like, because I also had, and I did, he's right. I had a bit of an attitude that he was never going to live up.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know I had that until he said that to me. And then I was like, oh, what is that about me? And then I realized that also was part of my alpha.
I was just going to say, I appreciate you owning that because that's very alpha of us. It's very alpha. Yeah. And it's just, again, alpha is wonderful, but we can emasculate a man like that. We know, and it's not intentional, but it's just that aspect of control and knowing what we think we know. But truly, it's masking a deep insecurity.
Yep. And it was also masking an idea I had gotten from my mother that wasn't even my idea.
Yeah. A conditioning. Absolutely.
What? Yeah. Now after he did that and he gave me everything I wanted, then I was like, well, that's weird. Now I got everything I wanted. I was so happy. But then after, when I thought about, the next Valentine's Days and stuff, I was like, okay, now let's talk about things that I actually want.
Really? Yeah. Right. Not just the flowers and chocolate thing. Like what? Right. Yeah. Maybe it's a silly little sign for your desk that says it's okay to do nothing. Or, and that's actually one of my first things that I actually did is it's okay to do nothing was one of the hardest things I had to learn as an alpha. So I'm like, no, it's not. We have stuff to do.
Yeah. I always have a to-do list and like, I could go on about that. I know we're just about out of time. So of course I want to ask you the question I love to ask because I'm famous for saying, yay. For your yay. I want to ask you, how do you create your yay in every day?
Oh, great question. I think truly, nature, any kind of connection. Oftentimes, like if I'm feeling stressed and I can feel when I'm amped and ramped and racked and stacked and ready to like launch into the day, I'll just give myself a couple extra minutes to just lay in bed and just appreciate the inner workings of the body. Like I don't have to do anything to grow my eyelashes. They just grow. You know what I mean?
Beautiful. So, I know.
Yeah. It's like, okay. So I'll just like drop into the body to just say thank you. And a gratitude, of course, is always a good one. So nature, gratitude, and then just put something colorful on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, yay.
Yeah. Yay. Thank you.
Yay. So let's go ahead and tell people if they want to find out about how to get your books, how to hire you as a speaker, a teacher, tell us about how they can find you.
Absolutely. My website, lindylewis.com. So we have, I have obviously the 3 books. I do workshops with the 3 books and I type this recovering alpha female, which is kind of, we're initially repelled by that, but as soon as you can shift it and recognize, get her sort of on purpose and in alignment, and you can live in this place of alchemy and balance where she lives healthy. And then she can, raise these young, beautiful women and children with from that place. But anyway, I do a lot of workshops and I do personal coaching as well. So thank you for asking. LindyLewis.com or LetYourColorOut.com. And all of my Insta stuff, I do positive posting, and that's Let Your Color Out.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, let's go ahead and end with our yay. So let's celebrate together. Yay!
All right, yay! Thank you, yay!
Hi, I'm Jack Canfield. You may know me as the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. And if you want more help in getting from where you are to where you want to be, I want to encourage you to listen to the Jennifer Hammond Show.